someone in Yorkshire struggled with his bill, got into around about £1,000. Yeah, but despite speaking to advisors to deal with the issue, Bill got disconnected, leaving him with no heating or hot water for 2 months. Oh, Patrick. Yeah. Hello, mate. How are you doing? Welcome to my humble abode. Thank you. Big four radiators, installed gas, not really well spaced out, so heating in this place is ridiculous. Like you turn the radiators on, you don't feel it. Being on a heat network, what has that meant to you? Well, when I moved in here, I was basically, the only explanation I was given was, with this company, you can't switch. That was it, that's all I knew. It was winter, I had a young child, she was like 3 at the time. Very cold to me, like month long. I feel like I only use it weekends when my daughter was around. Month long, I was like, I was like, well, where is this come from? But you have to keep yourself at work. After a long time, I was employed as well, like my finances still weren't on to speak of. And so that kind of bill, it was just like absolutely no humanly possible way that I could pay that. And it pissed me off. It was October and November time. So again, it was getting colder to me. And I was literally sitting here, working on my computer with gloves on, 6 layers of pajamas, quick body trying to keep breathing. Yeah, I still feel the cold in my feet, but I couldn't even have like a warm shower or anything, get myself warmed up. It was just honestly gas hot water, 2 months, nothing. Couldn't shower, couldn't do dishes, couldn't do anything. Again, my kids were around on the weekend, so Sunday night, last night, ready for school on Monday. That's still a raft of water that I don't know about half and then just pour jugs over and hope for the best. But I just felt like I could barely, I couldn't even go out, like see my friends or whatever, because I was sweating really in the shower. So I'm just literally trapped in a cold slam with nothing to do. And when I was speaking to the debt charities, they say things like, we've never actually seen someone get turned off when they only go to the little amount. You got disconnected because you were on a heat network. You weren't able to shop around when you were on a heat network. You were paying above the odds because you were on a heat network. What did you think about how heat networks at the moment aren't even regulated by Ofgem? It needs to change. Or we need the regulations just so they can start treating electricity again. How do you hope things will be different as from when regulation kicks in next year? I just hope people it's much faster, people can feel comfortable in their own homes again. I'm hoping it will have a positive impact on lots of people. Well, Patrick, heating was eventually put back on after a relatively potent electric.
Well, good news then, Patrick, that what the government and the regulator Ofgem have to say to you about this full system design, the clear message about standards and expectations when regulation kicks in. So Ofgem told me that they'll keep you informed as soon as possible.
And that it will make clear their expectations for customers and treating fair. The government says it's consulting on stronger price protection and actually separating out heating and electricity prices to ensure people aren't at risk of homelessness if they fall behind on energy bills. The UK District Energy Association, meanwhile, says it welcomes regulation, is working with Ofgem, and that disconnection is only ever a last resource.
Thanks, Dan. Well, that is Alex Felsham-Harris, Head of Energy Consumer Market Maximum Advice. Alex Felsham-Harris, we just heard from Patrick in Yorkshire. He was cut off with a young child at the start of winter. Can heat networks do that? Other suppliers can't, can they?
Yeah, so stories like Patrick's are so concerning to hear when you listen to the impacts that can have on people living in cold homes over winter. And you're right that essentially there's no equivalent protections to those living in relation to gas and electricity. So if you're a gas or electricity customer and you fall behind on your bills, then your supplier has to offer you an affordable way to repay your energy. And any disconnection to debt really would be a very, very last resort, and it's virtually been eliminated as a practice in those sectors. So that's what we really want to see in relation to heat networks as well.
Yes, and I have to say, we've had an email already this morning from someone saying they were disconnected too. What other practices did your report find that you're unhappy about?
So our report spoke to people who are struggling with the cost of their heating and hot water, and targeted them in particular, who are really rapidly rising changed retrospectively, so they were built on an estimated price, and then the company turned around and said, no, charge more. So all of those things made it impossible to budget, and when those costs came in, they just
Just I've taken one tent down. Oh, I'm just sitting in sort of the shower here. Half a tent.
So the new regulations should be a
Anyway.
major step for people living on heat networks.
I finally got the burgers. Now, there's a cup of tea.
Debt, you should be offered an affordable way to repay. Our concern is this is quite a large, diverse sector of heat networks, and often really needs to be clear to companies, so they need to get ready so that from January they
Severe amount of rain earlier.
around the most worrying factors like disconnection, given we'll be in the middle of winter when this regulation is introduced.
Yeah, because Patrick did run up the debt, didn't he? And heat networks do have to be paid like any other supplier. And some of them, indeed, as I understand, are not for profit. How will regulation change the way debts are collected? You say be more aesthetic or helpful, but what can they actually do?
Yeah, absolutely. We know that heat networks operate differently to large energy suppliers, and often are run by local authorities and housing associations. What we're hoping as the regulations introduce is that firms will their entire debt journey, so that they're engaging people if they recognise that people are at risk of running up a debt, offering them support and an affordable way to repay. So in Patrick's case, it was a relatively small amount of debt that quickly meant he was disconnected, and really if there was a plan in place for him, he could have managed those costs and found a way to repay them. And so that's the sort of thing we want to see from firms moving forward.
Yes, I mean, Patrick told us that he heard that he wants to be treated like a human. It's not a lot to ask, is it? Do you think this regulation will...
Just going to cover this up, I think. In fact, I'm going to put it in my bag, that way I don't... In fact... So there's quite a few creepy crawlies out here. No one likes burgers and ants. So, there you go, look. So, obviously got no ground sheet or anything down here. I've just got the outer of the tent. And I've got these two things propping it up. Anyway, welcome along to the new subscribers. Got quite a few
10 years later, Shakespeare became the first non-royal
this weekend. Could be on the 1,000 soon. Could be on the 900. Which is quite mad considering it was just me. I just can't stop it, mug. Up for that.
Princess George Orwell. EJ suggests things like teapots, which is a nice thought. And John emailed to say support for British farmers. Apples, carrots, cabbages, strawberries, things we grow. So
That's correct.
Ideas there. And there's a link on our Twitter or X with the official confirmation address. You can do that until the 31st, I think, of July. More than 9 out of 10 people have not had financial advice about their pensions or investments in the last year. One reason is what is called the advice gap. Regulated advisors are expensive and usually not that interested in people unless they have significant sums to save or invest. So where do you go in order to try to fill that that gap, the regulator, the Financial Conduct Authority, has proposed allowing financial firms like banks and pension providers to give people help in 4 different ways. It calls them guidance and information, targeted support, simplified advice, and even holistic advice. The FCA hopes this will help people who, its survey found, felt overwhelmed by the number of choices available to them. We asked these Moneybox listeners, Tina and Glyn, what they thought about the plan.
I think it's an excellent
Pensions,
idea
eh?
because I think there's a lot of people who are not really familiar with all the different things they could do regarding their savings, let alone investments. From my point of view, I was especially interested in this when I was looking to find out what I could do with my pension, but some thought will have to be made to work.
Okay, if you've got a massive pension and loads of private sort of equity stuff going off, but
What is like a massive decision to make with my pension pot. Do I do annuities or do I do an investment? I think the proposals are really good. However, I can't.
I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't do anything the government's told you to do with your pension part. They'd probably make you gamble it away.
I've now to talk to Natalie Holt,
That wouldn't surprise me.
editor at the financial consultancy, The Langcat. Natalie Holt, this time last year I talked to you about your report on the advice gap and offering 4 or 5 different options. Is it?
Right.
Yes, well, since we spoke to them, actually, we've kind of rerun the research, rerun numbers, and sadly that sort of 9 figure you quoted about people who are not getting advice is still the same. So there's still a lot of people who are falling into that advice gap, as we call it. So the idea is that some of these newer services in particular
By the time the governments are finished, everyone will have to be about 165 to claim their pension, I reckon.
close it completely because the gap is quite huge, but hopefully more people will get help than they do currently.
So people like Tina who wanted advice about her pension, that's something one of these new types of advice could give.
Well, exactly.
I could give you
So I
pension
think
advice.
with, targeted support, that would help people like Tina. But the thing with targeted support,
I've got some good
is
pension
it's
advice for you all out there.
individual to you. It's about
Stop investing in the
supporting
bank, start
you
investing in
circumstances.
records like I am.
If you're looking for an answer that is specific to you and your circumstances, the answer will always be.
You ain't even got to play them. You can make loads of money. You make more money doing what I'm doing with the records than I ever would do if I put all that money I spend every year,
It will be more like the advice you get now, but somehow simplified.
which is about
Yeah, that's right.
the
So
last
simplified advice would be very focused on a particular aspect of your finances.
the last 3 years I've probably
It covers
spent
the money, say through an inheritance.
about
People
6 grand
talk to you about what to do
on
with that
records.
money, but they won't talk about your whole
Hello
financial
Blake, how you doing? It's all good, man. I've got the other tent up there, look. I'm just in this mad little one here. I threw up earlier in the rain.
But is there a danger that these contacts from your bank or pension provider could just be sales matter for their own product?
Yeah, well, I suppose that is the worry, really, because I think if a bank or a pension provider is talking about...
I can guarantee that my
fairly generic, but if they're talking about
special's
products,
12
it's
inch.
probably likely
It'd be
that
worth
they are
more than that
recommending their own products,
£10 you
but
put
they
in
will
the
have to be
bank.
quite upfront about that, about the limitations
For sure.
they're offering, and the fact that it isn't full advice.
Yes, I mean, and they'll also be subject, as the FCA has stressed to us, to the new consumer duty, so they've got to make sure that there'll be a good outcome for their customers.
That's right, yeah.
But if it's just their product, I mean, one bank project, they go down the road to our
Trying to get
competitor.
point is trying to get comfy in here. I should really get in the other tent.
I doubt it, but yeah, you're right in that all these new rules...
I was just in here doing a bit of cooking. Got that one there. I took that one down.
They can also go to the financial ombudsman service, so that's another level of protection as well.
Yes, there's also a problem too, isn't there? People have opted out.
I've been doing that many lives.
They might be subject to data protection issues.
Hammered the
We'll
battery.
leave that one because I want to answer briefly at the end. What's your advice? People like Lynn and Tim and all the other listeners trying to make decisions. It's very hard to get help. Where would you go? Just really in a few words.
Well,
They'll probably just erase the pension at some point, won't they? I reckon.
most of things more generally, online too, but just check the source. I would always
I think
say.
people my kind of age
Natalie Holt from the Langcat, thanks very much. other science guidance information.
got a guaranteed pension, but I don't know about the youngsters being born today.
It's free. You can email your
Which is really sad, really, when we live in, like, whatever richest country we're supposed to be living in. Do you know what I mean?
reporter, Stan Whitworth, Joe Crampton, researcher, Peter Devlin, studio manager, Ben Helm, our editor is Jess Quayle, and I'm Paul Lewis.
Thank you, Paul. And our Radio 4, the maths teacher.
It's like them women, is it the WASP women, that were really conned out of their bit of their pension when they changed the ages. I've basically got my state pension when I'm old enough, and basically every year that I cared for my dad, I get an extra bit, so that's 20 odd years worth. Yeah, don't know what that equates to. And then obviously I've got my records. I presume the minute I start selling my two-tone ones, I'll probably be quite a rich man. I would imagine. I just thought, well, say I spent last year, say £2,000 on records. You put that £2,000 in the bank, and then have a look at that in 10 years' time. It'd probably be worth £2,000 and a pint of milk or something stupid. Whereas you look at my records, the value of them. And obviously the two-tone market, which I'm involved in, has boiling points. Like Terry Hall passed away, the prices go crazy. Do you know what I mean? There's good times, as sad as it is. There's good times to get out of it. But hello, Jay. How you doing, mate? Oh, my head. I'll have to take a picture. I showed the guy in the shop today, and he said I should really go to hospital. I'm not having any weird images. It's just quite a big gash. Don't go headbutting Pioneer speakers, whatever you're doing. Where's that thing I was smoking? Saying that, I've got to sell them all, haven't I, first? I wouldn't mind selling my collection all in one, do you know what I mean? All the beat, all the madness. Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you what happened. I was working underneath the speaker. I've come up, nutted it, and then just grabbed my head and gone down. Well, not fell over, just gone down below the speaker. But as I've nutted it, it's wobbled on the stand, and then just I got the full force of it. Yeah. Quite a bit of blood come out. I'll take a picture in a minute. In fact, I might. Don't know if you'll see it. Oh. Don't even know whether you can see it or not. Yeah, it's still got a scab on it. Yeah, everyone keeps telling me to go to the hospital.
From the Mugabe era land seizures, where black and white communities
It's not like I'm bleeding from anywhere else or got any other kind of injuries as a result of it. All I had was a bit of a sore head. I've got to change this charging cable because it's just shite. I've got another one out here, which I don't believe we have. I think I got a lot out here tonight.
While many Israelis want an end to the war, the focus of demands has largely been centered around the
Right
return
there.
of hostages taken captive by Hamas during its attack in 2023, in which around 12
Right there.
Israelis
Oh.
were killed. But there's also a small but visible movement emerging, which is calling for an end to the conflict for the sake of the Palestinian people.
I'll tell you what, for about 3 seconds as well, it made me feel really hot, like come over all wobbly. Not that I felt like collapsed or anything like that. I just thought, let's get to the sofa a bit sharpish. But then I dialed, is it 111? Where you get the NHS people with the nurses and that. They told me I really should get to the hospital, but to be honest, if there was anything going on after that, I would, but it's all good. Yeah, they're fighting with the speakers.
Is a regular feature outside government offices and in public spaces. The names and faces of the hostages are omnipresent in shop windows, on car bumper stickers, and on posters outside the Prime Minister's office.
Oh,
The names and
what's
faces
that
of
then there?
being held by Sapir and her friends aren't of Israeli hostages, but of Palestinian children killed in the Gaza.
How's that?
Their demonstration is on a road outside an Israeli Air Force base.
What's struggling in?
From where some of the regular sorties to bomb Gaza take off. Not wanting to risk arrest, police patrols would quickly swing by. Sapir says the protest is deliberately silent. They don't chant, shout, or try to block traffic entering the base. But the words on the posters do carry a message.
And I've also got my UB40 collection, you know what I mean? Which was my first collection.
Your bombs are killing innocent people, including the hostages. We're not coming here to blame the pilots. We're coming here to ask
Don't know what that's worth.
to do the right thing, says activist Yali Maron. We're giving them an opportunity to choose different. In a country still
Then I've got all my two-tone stuff. I've also got all my singles as well.
opinions held by most Israelis.
And the two-tone singles, some of them can be worth a few quid. Get the right one.
The humanitarian crisis in the Palestinian territory barely makes the news. It's not that such opinions and images are censored.
They're saying that each collector is collecting different things. I know people that just collect too much too young, but from every nation that they can possibly get it from. Hello there, Mike. Mike Hunt, not James. James Hunt, a famous racing driver. Israel, I'm fed up of hearing about Israel and all that shit. Tell you what, it's not very comfy in here without the floor being. Now my phone won't turn round. Let me be a second. Right, now we've lost the picture, have we?
He took a huge gamble attacking Iran's nuclear program after years of having threatened to do so. After a war that only lasted 12 days, Bibi Netanyahu basked in the
Let me try something. There we go, look.
but he hasn't enjoyed as big a bounce from the war
I can give you a shout out.
might have hoped for. Trust
Mike Hunt, how you doing?
is a big problem.
Got 2 shout outs. How about that?
International stage, many
Where are you
experts
from then,
think
Mike? Anywhere
has
interesting?
harmed Israel's global standing and its economic prospects by needlessly prolonging the war in Gaza, even though many former generals have said Israel's defense forces have achieved as much as is militarily possible in the Palestinian territory. Israel is deeply divided, politics is polarized. What happens next is something few people in this region know the answer to. The voices of collaboration and coexistence between Israelis and
What happens now in Israel? Probably more killing, man.
have almost
Because they've all lost it.
for peace activists such as Ismail Ali quietly try to draw attention to what is happening in Gaza, the future is ominous. Let's talk about existence first, then we can talk about coexistence, says Yali. There is no future where only Jews are living here or only Palestinians living here. It's devastating and it's going to take time.
Only Jews or Palestinians. Can't they live together then?
But I still believe
Crazy,
we
isn't
can
it?
find ways to live together in an
All over religion, man. Just
where it is.
all over
Next to Zimbabwe.
who's got the best pretend friend.
Years since Robert Mugabe's
Sorry.
controversial land reform
Sorry to all my religious watchers out there.
wave of violent land seizure from the country's white farmers, transferring ownership to black Zimbabwe.
Spain, alright.
While popular among many Mugabe
I've got some
supporters,
Spanish blood.
addressing the wrongs
I'm English, Irish and Spanish.
it proved devastating for the country's economy. Today, the current government has begun paying compensation to white farmers forced from their land. Thinkai Neofen considers whether it can help bring much-desired reconciliation.
I watched quite a bit of Spanish football, actually.
When I was growing up, it often left me conflicted. On the one hand, many white farmers being thrown off fertile land were my
White farmers,
parents.
South Africa.
On the other, my own parents had grown up in arid rural villages where their forebearers had been dumped in often violent colonial-era land seizures. Then, as a journalist in the 2000s, I'd covered stories of white farmers severely beaten and killed by those taking over the land. Back
You had
then,
the white-
many of them were tough,
The white people beating the
prepared to fight
black
back.
people, and then you got the black people beating the white people.
White farmers were
South Africa. How about that?
in a conference room in a Harare
Crazy.
suburb. I was struck by how these men, once the backbone of Zimbabwe's economy, had aged considerably, with some visibly unwell.
I don't know.
25 years on, their hardline positions have softened, and they've accepted a compromise deal. President Mnangagwa's government recently issuing the first payouts to white farmers, following a compensation offer of some $3.5 billion. The compensation, which will largely be paid through
Mabel
tax
FC,
not
indeed.
covers farm infrastructure like barns and land, but not the value of the land itself, which the government says was illegally seized. from
Anyway, get your money on Liverpool, everybody.
Among those receiving compensation is 71-year-old
For
Paisley, a
the Premiership again next year. We not only won it this year, we're going to win it next year as well.
He needs to pay off his medical bills and take care of his sick parents. He offered up his farm to black farmers in 2001 and has only now been paid. Arthur says that although it was difficult to give up his farm, it's now time to let go of the past and move on. He also says he can't afford to wait for another deal. When more than three-quarters of the former farmers have
Get out of this tent in a minute.
I met their leader, Dion Taron, rummaging through boxes of his possessions, hastily packed during his own eviction back in 2008. Today they fill the veranda of his
I do alright in all them Arab countries where they just sit in their tents all day long drinking tea.
how he resisted eviction
I'll have
from
some of
his
that.
dairy farm, which he bought not long after Zimbabwe became independent back in 1980. He told me he'd been prepared to go to jail over it until his friends convinced him otherwise. He says Britain, the former colonial power, has a role to play too. There's a match taking place here, and the British can't go sit in the pavilion, he told me. Much of the narrative about agriculture in Zimbabwe has focused on the white farmers.
See, the problem is with South Africa, with the farms, they were all sort of run by white people who employed all the black people. And when the power swung the other way, you ended up with the all the black dudes running the farms who couldn't run the farms.
One of 70
Um,
farmers apportioned a section of what was a large tobacco farm.
They just attacked a lot of them,
25-year-old Aaron Gagne, heavy set with a swagger about him,
killed a lot
said
of
they
farmers.
reinvested the little profits they made and built up a bare piece of land into a large enterprise with 200 workers.
It's the same as all these countries that
And livestock too. Aaron is pragmatic.
the old British Empire
Fair, white farmers
colonised
compensated and suggested black farmers should pay a tax
all around the world.
inherited to help fund the deal.
When we left these places and sort of given their, yeah, we shouldn't have been there in the first place, but someone else would have been, trust me. When we've left these places and given their independence, they ain't got a clue how to run the place, do you know what I mean? And then the whole country collapses.
It's an unnecessary act of appeasement.
Crazy.
Explaining that he and his group had filed a lawsuit against the government, challenging the legality of the deal, saying it was made without parliamentary consent.
And no, I don't consider myself British. I'm English. Have some of that. English, Irish and Spanish.
Albeit small. I would never have imagined so many white farmers would now concede that land reform was necessary. The problem now is trying to
That's Southern Ireland, by the way.
what justice looks like for everyone. After all, Zimbabwe's social cohesion,
I noticed that
its entire future depends on it.
is it flag waving season, isn't it? Again soon. Marching season. Crazy. Not that I'm into that or any kind of religious sectarianism shit. Crazy, eh?
Today, locals continue to live amid ongoing tensions with China and, finds Adrian Briggs, the struggle
All them union flag wavers, man. Can't stand them. Especially with them Rangers fans out there.
Pick of the day's oysters, clams, snails that have attached themselves to the
Sad team to be supporting Rangers, I think. But then again,
the sun is shining,
I'm a Celtic supporter, so
the wet sand is soft on the feet. All very idyllic. Look up though, and you get a very different perspective. A huge sweep of high-rise towers that line the coast around the ever-expanding Chinese port city of
in fact, I wouldn't mind going to that.
barely more than a mile
An Old Firm derby. I bet they're right heated sort of events.
bangs and booms accompanying the construction of a vast new avenue
Especially when you're English and you're in the Celtic end. No.
due to open next year will serve the Chinese prince of Fujian, and it's a reminder of China's clout in the region. Qingguo was a boy of 7
Saying that, Scotland nearly
back in 1940.
nearly voted for independence.
And it was like a sea of shooting stars, he tells me. I was in the mountains with my grandfather. We hid in a ditch with baskets over our heads.
It's a shame the English don't get in any kind of independence.
Despite a fierce mob,
But we're not allowed to say that. No. I think one day Scotland will be independent.
began firing back.
And I think all the countries will be independent. That's what I think.
Repeatedly shelled each other across the narrow gap that separates them. Slightly bizarrely, they agreed that one side would fire on odd days and the other
Crazy,
on
eh?
even days. The islands are replete with reminders of that conflict. There are statues commemorating
Because you used to have leaders that were leaders of the whole lot.
are prominent at every turn. Tourist attractions here include underground bunkers
Mary, Queen of Scots.
and a lookout post for spying and broadcasting messages.
You used to have a lot of kings that were kings of
Coastline is littered with barricades
England and Ireland.
amphibious approaches
Um,
from the mainland. The thawing of relations between China and the US in the late 1970s resulted in an end
I suppose if you go way back, everybody's killing everybody. That's what's occurring.
but given their proximity to the mainland, the Kinmen Islands would be extremely vulnerable should Beijing one day seek to realize its long-stated goal to reunify China and Taiwan. I asked Qingguo, a wise
In fact, it's quite weird having
with endearing gaps
a
in
bit of Irish blood, because I've got like a clan,
what lies ahead. I've seen it all before.
and I've got 2 Tartans. Do you know that?
If the Chinese
That
do
belongs to
attack,
my
it will be the mainland, not here. But I do not think it will come to conflict.
mother's surname.
It's critical
In fact,
that Taiwanese politicians
it's quite mad, I think.
they're almost
Because with England, you don't get no clans. It don't work like that.
only Taiwan's people can decide their future. We have to be careful. We must not poke the bear. He says.
And I can wear a kilt
And with that,
as well,
he returns to the
legally.
blessing
Not
of
that I ever have.
extraction of great barracudas of oysters from their
I
extraordinary
bet kilts are good for cycling, though.
but deeply controversial
Um,
Taiwan Strait. With younger generations unwilling to put in the back-breaking work required, Jinggo, now 74, is one of the last members.
County Wicklow, I believe that all my clan goes back to, the Byrne clan. And that's Byrne, spelled B-Y-R-N-E, which is how my mum's surname is. Obviously, if you're Scottish, it would be B-U-R-N.
The oysters, accompanied with lemon, are delicious, and the liquor certainly hits the spot. I smile at the old man, and he smiles back. It's an utterly surreal experience. The calm. I think back to our time together and the gathering of the much-prized mollusks under the midday sun. Idyllic indeed.
Battery on now. There's any lights in here, man?
High-rise towers of shut.
Got any
And hear the
lights?
pounding beat of the drills and drums that every minute,
I
centimetre by
think there's a
centimetre,
light on that
bring
tree.
the Chinese mainland ever closer to Taiwan.
Next, we're in Lithuania, where the question of what to do with Soviet-era institutions has proven to be a polarizing one. One such example sits right in the middle of the capital, Vilnius. The imposing
Wouldn't mind visiting Scotland, though.
once infamous for its appalling conditions, it swallowed up political prisoners, activists, and exiles for decades.
I'd probably prefer the remote parts, though. The Highlands, and all sort of
It's
out in the middle of nowhere.
into a hip new artistic pop. Is this newfound cultural pool acting on a once-dark past?
Certainly wouldn't understand all them Glaswegian people, man. When they start waffling. Someone would have to translate. Oh, let's turn that on. In fact, I was in prison with a guy from Tipperary in Ireland. I was in Lincoln prison with him, and his name was Paddy. That was what his name was. Yeah, a lovely guy. Lincoln prison, man. I was the only one that sounded like I do. I think Lincoln is a bit of a jail where they send all the, not that I was a nutter or mad, all the troublesome people from like Liverpool, Manchester, they put them all in there. So it was just full of Manx and Scousers and all people from like Blackburn and whatnot. And there was me. Yeah. But I've got to say, I found the all the Northerners and that spot on. To be honest with you. Very old prison, Lincoln. Yeah, crazy. Had a few moments in there that was a bit crazy. Or was that Elmley? Yeah, Elmley, I think. It's a bit like a zoo man on the Isle of Sheppey. Got to have eyes like in the back of your head in certain jails. Saying that, it's not like you walk about, well, you might do, I don't. But you're always aware, do you know what I mean? You're in prison. But I suppose it depends what you're up to. But then you always get your stray psychopath. That's what I come across. Stray psychopaths that just like focus in on you, waffle some shit, and what the fuck, you know what I mean? What's he just said? It's crazy. And you got all the spice heads, but you didn't have a lot of spice heads and shit when I was in there. You know what I mean? There weren't spice. It was proper weed. And again, it was a different world when I was in there. If you used to stick all these offenders today into the system that I went into, they'd all be crying for their mummies, man, and fucking melting down. Crazy, eh? Where's me telly? Shh, ain't got no telly. All I had, right, when I was 17, my first spell in jail, 2 weeks remand in Rochester, and I can remember, excuse my language, but that's just what the screw said. He opened the door, he went, in you go, and he gave me a bucket. He went, you're pissing and shitting in there. I thought, fucking lovely. Do you know what I mean? But again, I'd been in that many fucking police station cells that prison, well, yeah, it did faze me. I'd be lying if I said the first time don't really faze you. But it wouldn't do now. Young Offenders was an eye-opener. That's the most violentest place I've ever been in, is that Ollesley Bay. I got there and it's just fucking, just loads of fighting. That's another place, but Ollesley Bay in Suffolk. I got in the wagon at Tunbridge, everyone sounds like me. Got out the other end, everyone sounds like they're from Norfolk and like sound like they're a farmer. I thought, fucking hell, where am I? Fucking. And then I had all these Essex bods. That's where they put all the Essex, well, that's where the Essex boys met. I was there 6 years earlier. In there with some Essex people. Yeah, why they're sending people from Kent all the way to fucking Ollesley Bay, I got no idea. I thought I was going to Felton, or yeah, Felton, or Dover. Yeah, a lot of them. Well, you can scroll back, you'll see my video when I helped this lad from Chelmsford escape. He jumped out the window. But again, if you're jumping out the window at Ollesley Bay, you're already in Suffolk. You only got to get next county's Essex. Whereas I would have had a long way to go jumping out the window. I'd have had to come through Suffolk and then get into Essex and then either go through London into Kent or from Kent straight to Essex. And all you got, right, when you got caught was 28 days. So apparently at Christmas time, everyone just jumps out the window. Because it's an open, do you know what I mean? It's like a unit. You've got like a key to your room. But I can't say I ever thought about diving out the window. Well, yeah, I thought about it, do you know what I mean? I didn't. It was just a no-go for me. I thought, well, I'm in here, do you know what I mean? Getting rid of all my fines. I'm going to come out all clean. But I suppose if you was doing Christmas in there, what's 2 weeks extra, do you know what I mean? For being at home with your missus or kids or family or whatever. I can get that. But yeah, that was a mad place. And the ages in there, when I was in there, was between 17 and 21. As soon as you were 21, they put you in an adult prison. But I spent my 18th birthday in there. Crazy. Don't go to prison, people. Be good. It's my advice to any youngsters watching. I've got quite a varied crowd that watch me. Keep out of trouble, people. Don't start dealing drugs, because unless you're right at the top of the tree, you ain't going to make no money. Does crime pay? Sometimes. But in this day and age, there's too many grasses about, there's too many cameras. Give it all up. There you go. Crazy. They should send me into the young offenders, man. Let me talk to them. Snap them out of all this fucking shit they're in. Then again, you get your child offenders. I was never like a child offender. My offending started when I started getting on my cars and that. That's what I had my trip in Hollesley Bay for. 2 driving on a bands. 6 months and 3 days. Plus I got about 2.5 grand's worth of fines thrown in as well. But yeah, that was really shit in there. I thought, where the hell have I landed here? I thought, it looks like everybody's getting a turn at getting like weighed in. I thought, here we go. And the daddy was this guy called Hills. Name and shame him. Was a guy called Hills, and I used to look at him sometimes and think I'd love to get up and just crack him around the head with a chair. Because I was just as tall as him, but he was 21 and I was 17. He was just more developed. I still could have smashed him around the head with a chair, but then you'd have had all his little gang. It was weird in there, man. It is. It's probably like that in there now, where someone says, "Oh, I'm the daddy" or whatever, and I don't know, crazy. But what I'd already decided before I even touched down in there that nobody was going to be touching me. That goes for screws as well as other youths. I thought, anyone that does anything to me, I'm doing it back to them. And that stood me in quite good stead, really. Plus it helps being quite tall. Yeah, crazy. Because you get like the daddy, and then you get all the daddy's little like hangers-oners, who are just real weak people. Obviously they get with a daddy and get a bit of power, but he never calls me no whatever. Ripped the piss out of me a couple of times, so I ripped the piss out of him. That was about it. I suppose I'd probably look for the vulnerable people. Do you know what I mean? Then before you know it, he'd be knocking on your door. Oi, give me them biscuits. Give me all that tobacco. You know what I mean? Crazy. Best thing to say to them people is, nah, you give me your fucking biscuits, man. How about that? Tax them back. Prison stories tonight. Prison stories. Oh yeah, I've done a bit of research. Well, I think I might have been banged up with Pate. He did do Hollesley Bay around the same time as me, I think. Don't know if he was big then, no? Crazy, eh? Not that I'd been bonding with Pat Tate. What's he just pump? He's just a bodybuilder pumping iron and shit. I'd have had nothing in common with him. I do go to the gym when I'm in jail, but I do like cardiovascular. All these big iron, like fucking big steroid heads. Do you know what I mean? They're not really fit. You know what I mean? Like Bernie and all them lot, and them Essex boys. Do you know what I mean? It's only because they're on steroids that they're huge. If they got to go for half hour, they're going to be huffing and puffing and panting. Trust me. Oh. Fuck all that, man. Pumping all that iron. Fuck, can't be bothered, man. I couldn't do all that shit. My cycling's enough for me. Right, what we need is that other torch which is upstairs. And I'll keep an eye on my battery. I've been doing that many lives today that I'm still on like a ridiculous amount of battery. Saying that, done quite a few thousand views today. Quite a few thousand people all going through at different times. And we're getting nearly to the 900 subscribers. Wow. And then we'll be heading towards 1,000. Which is quite mad, really, considering it was just me on here playing records and waffling. And everybody just came in. In fact, I was stuck. I was stuck on about 775, and it was that was 875. I was stuck on. I kept losing a few, gaining a few, losing a few, but I don't really. I mean, I'm not in here saying like and subscribe every 10 seconds. You know what I mean? I'm just waffling away. I do say that now and again. Plus, all my channel, all of you lot out there from all around the world, it's all natural. It's all just. Do you know what I mean? I haven't. You can buy everything on here, believe it or not, on YouTube. All the subscribers, but it's all just naturally worked. If you get me, there is a word for that, for the process that I'm talking about, but I can't think what it is. I can't think. Not that I'm going to make thousands of pounds out of YouTube. In fact, music channels make the least, but I'll be able to throw a few extra spanners and, I mean, a few extra things out there and whatnot. Make it quite interesting. Yeah. Indeed, Joe, you nail on the head, mate. 10 points to you. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, it is. I've seen people on their channels, right, bitching because they've only got 200k. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy with heading towards me 1,000. Bringing different things bring in different people. Obviously, I've got me wild camping, but I'm like a music channel, but I just sort of blog as well, what I'm up to. Again, I feel quite at home waffling away behind the camera here. Anyway, let's get out there before all them insects pull that cloth off of my burgers and start munching them. No, you don't know though. Hedgehogs out there, but I don't think they like burgers. Yeah, get to 900. I remember when I got to 100 subscribers. That was quite an achievement. You get to do different things, you see. Not that I was aiming for any of it. I just every now and again I'll get these messages off YouTube. Boom, boom, boom. It's quite interesting looking at all the stats. Got about 27% people are female now. Got quite a big female following. And age ranges from sort of 18, 19 right up to 65 plus. Countries, America, Japan, Greece, Ireland, Germany, everywhere. Russia, not forgetting all our comrades out there in Russia. Mad, eh? Oh. Tactical torch. Oh. Oh. There's flying insects around tonight. Must be all the rain we've had. Rain again, isn't it? In fact, we could do with that in there.
He did an unbelievable job staying with me. He played better than me in both tie breaks, so he deserved it. And I didn't want to let his game style bother me, and I just had to keep fighting. And it was an amazing, competitive match, and I loved it. And I loved the Chilean fans too, and you guys were amazing. The atmosphere was so good.
In Formula One, the McLaren driver Lando Norris took first place in his home Grand Prix at Silverstone. Founder Nico Hülkenberg came third for his first ever F1 podium. 13th race.
Don't even know where the hooks are.
Has won more than £2 million in cash and prizes for the show they do to Dimidi for noon. Never expected to stay on the show so long, so I have no regrets.
Thank you, Jane. You're listening to Westminster Hour. In Watson and my guests all gathered here in the studio with me, which is rather interesting. We'll see how it goes. Let's be representing the last big landslide, 1997, shows the 6th treasure. wondered when you were serving under a serious but somewhat uncharismatic Labour Prime Minister who was plummeting the polls. You called for a leadership contest.
That'll do. Over here.
History you wanted to
That
share
one
with
there.
us tonight.
I think.
Apart from that,
Uh-uh.
I don't sense any attempt to unseat Keir, move on from Keir. I think it would be fair to say the Parliamentary Labour Party is probably in a state of shock after last week and some of the things that happened. And, you know, it's just something we have to recover from and consider there's so many brand new MPs who come from seats that you would never have anticipated of winning. There just needs to be much more discussions about what do you do when you inherit a government where you're borrowing 100% GDP.
Wow, you inherited that government from Alex Bergman. He represents Brendan Longer with the Conservatives. Jamie Beaton on senior team. Shadow Chancellor of the Country of Lancaster. Shadow Northern Ireland Secretary.
Yeah, all that rain's definitely increased the flying insects. This is quite mad. Wouldn't want to be in here in the window. Anyway, I'll be back in about half an hour.